Hello, everybody. I do a little dance at the beginning of my live streams because sometimes I play it back when it is uploaded to my channel and a few seconds get knocked off the beginning. So I just dance and chill out for a second, but I still want it to be entertaining for those of you tuning in right away. So we can indulge together. um Oh my goodness. Today is the new solar cycle. Contrary to popular belief, and we will be getting into it in a little bit, but today is the day that the sun entered Aries, according to true sky astrology. And again, I will be getting into that a little bit more in a little bit. I'm just going to wait just a couple minutes here for some of you to get on, hop on. I know that I like posting the link across all of my social medias um, for these. I almost said sessions for these streams. I mean, they're kind of sessions, I guess. This is a nice little environment that I'm setting up for you guys for us to just show up and have a nice time and a nice little chat. So, how's everybody feeling? I'm so stoked that the new solar cycle this year is on Earth Day as well. So I had a whole like audio diary recording I did with myself right when I woke up this morning. It was like an hour long where it was a bunch of different reflections, but the beginning part of it was me talking about how there's like a unity between the earth and the cosmos this time for the solar cycle rather than it just being so emphasized on what's going on with the stars. So I spent some time with that this morning. Um so, yeah, okay. We are a few minutes in here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started and get into the bulk of what I want to talk about. So, yes, this is the new solar cycle. We enter a new solar cycle when the sun enters the constellation of Aries. So, that is the first sign of the zodiac, the ram. Um, and as I was kind of saying a couple minutes ago, people think that it's Taurus season right now, and it's not because, um, and here, don't get me wrong, there are a ton of different forms of astrology, like way more than I ever thought. I went on this chart generator just a couple weeks ago, and I mean, there's Fagan sidereal, there's tropical, there's Vedic, there's all these different kinds. So, um, the thing about True Sky is that people say it has kept up with how the stars have moved over the centuries. Because the thing about Vedic astrology or the modern astrology that people tend to gravitate towards in New Age circles um, in this era, it has not kept up with the way that the stars have moved. And so, all those years ago, when it first kind of established itself as a system, it just has stayed, I guess, if that makes sense. And so, um, the stars do move, though, even though it's minor, a few degrees. They're like light years away, right? But just the accuracy and also the fact that in True Sky, and in some other forms of astrology too, there is the inclusion of the 13th sign, which is Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer or the serpent holder. Um, and that is not included in the, I guess, more modern take of astrology, Vedic astrology, tropical astrology. So with that, signs have shifted. Or like with the inclusion of that, it's like I said, some people think it's Taurus season, but in this particular perspective I will be talking about in this video, it's Aries season. We just entered Aries. So it's kind of like a step behind a little bit. So I use an app called Sky Tonight, and there's also one called Skywalker 2, I think, made by the same company. I'll show you what it looks like. So that's like the home screen, and you see, it shows you that, oh, it's actually right there. Hang on, let me turn down the brightness. Do you see the sun and you see Aries? Oh gosh, no, you can't. No, you can't. Nope. Oh, it's because it's got there's a setting on it that you can do where it follows your, like, you can actually aim it at the sky and it shows you the stars and points them out and labels them for you in real time. Okay, let's see if I can turn it around now that I clicked on the sun. I have to turn it down even more. I just want you guys to see the fact that the sun is in Aries right now. This is like live time, April 22nd, 7:06 p.m., 2026. At my coordinates, it is calibrated fully. Do you see? That's the sun, and then that's the ram. So this is a really cool app that you can use. You can even validate your own birth chart by putting in your birthday and the coordinates or the city which you were born in. I've done that where I found a True Sky astrology chart generator and I wanted to make sure it was accurate. So I put in my birthday in this app and I was able to go like one by one with placements in the different planets and stuff and validate it and like cross reference basically. And you can even check future dates in this app as well for a couple hundred years in the future. So you can go back quite a bit and then you can go forward quite a bit. So I think that's really cool. Anyway, it's great. You can get this app in particular. I think you do have to pay for, but it's only like $7 for a lifetime access subscription thing. For lifetime access, you just pay $7 one time. So I think it's worth it. Um, and yeah, so this is when I celebrate the new year. I've been celebrating the new year on this, like, I was gonna say on this day, but technically it changes, it varies. Sometimes it's as early as April 19th, and sometimes it can be as late as like the 23rd or the 22nd, like today, this time this year. Um, and it's so cool because there are a bunch of different New Year's in different cultures. And they definitely mark transitions. Just to name a few, I mean, because I celebrate my New Year today, it is a little strange, um, kind of seeing the other ones. Like, for example, Samhain is sometimes referenced as the witch's New Year. That's Halloween. That's All Hallows Eve, October 31st. And the symbolism of that is like death and rebirth, celebrating, really reflecting on the year, and it's the official um, death of the sun, technically, especially when it comes to the Wiccan faith. Um, that is when the representation of like divine masculine sun energy, the Lord, that is when the Lord passes and is ultimately reborn, and then that masculine cycle continues throughout the year. That's the wheel of the year for Wiccans. So that's the new year for them. And then a couple weeks later, we have the Gregorian calendar new year on January 1st. And then a couple weeks after that, we have the Chinese New Year. And then we have the spring equinox a few weeks after that. So it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many things, which is really cool. And they all serve a purpose. They all have their own roots and significance. And I feel energetically that they do mark transitions and different points in our evolution and in our calendar. The big one for me, though, is today, for me personally, which is the new solar cycle, because that is like a cosmic reset. That is when we are at the peak of kind of spring energy and getting into that newness, that refreshment. um, because especially in spiritual communities, people tend to have beef with the January 1st Gregorian calendar New Year, myself included a little bit, because we are still in winter, the nitty gritty of winter during that time. And with people trying to set new goals and resolutions and ultimately feeling really bad when they sometimes can't follow through on certain things, nature kind of set it up that way. It's like we're not really meant to be starting new stuff right now because we are still in that rest and recharge state. That is what nature does, and that's what we used to do before modern society came in. So it's like we have to have a balance and we have to have both rest and action. And so technically, between last April and this April, that is the year for me for this system. And right now would be the time to start new stuff today. So if there are any of you out there watching this who maybe are upset about failed New Year's resolutions, or you're feeling a little burnt out, or something happened, right? I want to encourage you that, hey, actually, trust yourself and your own motivations, and know that this reset happened today. So maybe this system will be more aligned with your body and your nature for starting new things. So, yes, I'm looking at my notes here. I just have some talking points here. So, the way that I celebrate every year is I reflect on ooh, I can share my screen. Okay, I was gonna say, um, I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you my reflection document that I have been working on all day long today, because in previous years I would prepare it maybe a week or a couple days in advance. Well, I've been going through some stuff. So, it wasn't aligned to have me work on it until today. And basically what I do every year is I sit down and I reflect and I really appreciate and fully feel into the accomplishments of this year energetically, but also in different life categories. The Lifebook program by John and Missy Butcher, who are connected to the Mind Valley kind of world, changed my life. And I think I can put the link in the description. Hopefully that's okay. Um, so if you guys are interested, I was a part of the pilot program, so I think maybe they have updated it and added some more amazing stuff. But basically, there are 12 life categories, and you get really, really clear on what you want for each category. But not only that, it's an actual action plan where you set boundaries for yourself, you do some vision board stuff, and I mean, strategies, actionable steps for you to apply to create the life of your truest desires and highest authenticity expression, basically. And so I very much use that in my reflection document, where I go category by category and see what happened and what improved and what I worked on in those areas. And then also just a general compilation at the top. You'll see this in a second. I'm literally going to show you my exact document right now of my like different resources and record keeping areas and kind of what I did in the bigger projects of the year. So, okay, let's see. I've never tried this before, you guys. So, okay, window or screen. Okay, I guess we're going to do entire screen, which is fine. Okay. Oop, it's going to do the inception. Okay, sorry. There you go. Okay, I hope you guys can see this. Solar cycle year 2025 shifts and accomplishments. This is what I do every year. And as you can see, it's 10 pages long right here. And to get into this top section here, um, this right here, the year of prosperity and divine inheritance, that was the theme. And basically, what I do after I reflect on all of my, oh, it just jumped down. After I reflect on and compile all of my different resources and accomplishments and things, I basically I sit down in meditation and I get to sorry, I want to come up with a nice place to leave this. Hang on. This is like a chart I made. There you go. Because I want to spoil what's above. So I sit in meditation and I pretty much receive from the divine, from the universe, what what this new year theme is. And I write down, which I'll show you in a second, what this previous year was. I write down points of, and it just comes in for me. I have developed my mediumship abilities for the past almost nearly 8 years straight. These are abilities I've had my entire life, but actually honing them and practicing and building up my skill set in that way, it's been 8 years. So it comes in pretty easily for me. But know that just like with anything else, it takes practice and it's a muscle that you can work for yourself. And you can also do it this way if you're called to, where you sit in meditation and you receive what the theme is, like I do. So let's go back up here because I am going to. So yes, the year of prosperity and divine inheritance. So some of the bigger docs up here were like my dedication ritual a mere few days after the new solar cycle started. Um, that was basically, this is something that solitary practitioners tend to do in the craft, where it's pretty much just a self-led solo ritual thing where we um, commit to a particular practice that is structured in a certain way and encases certain themes or activities. And for me, this was me kind of fully breaking out of some previous elements of my practice that I did in the past that aren't aligned for me now. I got back to kind of sacred roots, ancient earth traditions with this ritual, whereas a couple years ago I had dedicated myself more to like a cosmic chelantic science, star seed kind of practice. Okay, so this was a big deal for me to do this for myself. And then authentic money energetics. This was a really powerful document that I put together of different points. And I'm not going to click into all of these because otherwise you're going to be on this forever with me. Um, but this was a big year for me because not only did I learn new skills, but I was able to encourage myself and learn and take more responsibility and understand where I was at internally, but also how I was reacting and handling some external stuff. And so being able to align and balance both physical world responsibilities and practicalities with authentic creative expression and support and love and joy on the inside, that is what this document is about. And then a love letter to myself because, oh my goodness, I have been through so much and I have made this so that I can go back to it whenever I'm feeling down or feeling like I'm burnt out or exhausted. So, getting into these other documents here, whenever there's a project that I have that has an entire, like it's so big that it needs its own document, because I have a physical notebook, which I call my spiral book of light. Some people call it a book of shadows. Um, I have those for handwritten stuff, but then I also have a digital version, which are actually down here, right here. You see digital BOLs, these with the dates marked on them. And then sometimes it's just a really big thing with a lot of notes and a lot of different reflection points. So this is one of those things. So Villain Era 2025 and Healing the Inner Teenager. So these are the guidelines that I discovered for myself, but also received via divine downloads and guidance that helped me on my journey to be less of a people pleaser and to be able to advocate for myself more. And then I'm gonna just lightly touch on this because this is kind of private, but my union that I was in with a masculine over the summer, um, I have notes and reflections of lessons and revelations from that time. So that is what is this right here. And then here are the digital BOLs. And then winter and spring and pre-spring downloads, I kind of got overwhelmed. And so I didn't want to put it in the digital BOL documents. So these are like their own dedicated, yeah, massive downloads, as you can see. Um, and it's all colorful and color coded and with sections in there and all of that stuff that I just didn't want to move. And kind of again similar to the project specific documents, it was just a lot, and so it deserved to be in its own kind of separate thing. So those are PDF files, and then life vision and categories aligned with the new true me. It's kind of in progress at this time, but after deconstructing so much, not only with the group that I left, that was kind of the Keylontic sign, starseed, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's everything. And I might get into it a little bit. I've kind of gotten into it in other videos here on my channel, but seeing the inherent cultiness of the modern world in general, it's just very, very overwhelming how predatory marketing is and the ways that people sometimes very egoically present themselves online and just the hype behind pop culture things, and it's just a lot. So, I really kinda had the biggest upheaval I've ever experienced when it comes to not only just as my spiritual practice, but seriously my life, like overall, how I show up and what motivates me and what my goals are and what the meaning of it all is. So to have an upheaval of essentially your entire life in every way is very overwhelming. So after finally getting back in touch with my true self fully, no stone was left unturned, because I will say in the past, I thought that I was calling into question things that no longer served me, but because it was so kind of daunting to approach certain things, especially spiritually, I would just kind of slightly rebrand it, maybe a little bit, but then keep doing it because it helped my nervous system feel safe. And of course, I forgive myself for that. That served me for a time. But now this year, this solar cycle, I was ready. My guides were not messing around. They were like, "Nope." Take the way that I explained it to my colleagues actually is, you know those old computer rooms from back in the day where literally all these stacks of metal cubes were in a room and it was just one big computer because that's how computers started off as. That was the technology. And it's like that entire computer room for me internally was ripped out and replaced with a little chip of advancement and simplicity and truth and just wow. So that's what it felt like genuinely. So after that upheaval and me finally taking off all those layers of other people's thoughts and other people's beliefs and um societal just projections, I sat down with myself and I mentioned Lifebook earlier on in this video. I went category by category with all of the Lifebook categories, all of the sections, and what truly aligns with me now as far as values and just perspective and ways of living and stuff like that. So, okay. And then, of course, right here is just my recordings. I have so many recordings in this folder. These are all of my audio diaries. And then my which BOLs of mine have content from this year in them. That is what's listed here. So, okay, the themes and points, This is stuff that came in originally as bullet points at the very beginning of the year, and then they actually built upon themselves in the weeks to follow. So I'm not going to read it all to you. I'm just going to kind of scroll. This has everything to do with limiting beliefs and fears involving money and wealth and accumulation and building stuff up for myself. Um, and then here are whoa, it jumped again. I'm sorry. Hang on. I mean, I'm kind of scrolling here. You can kind of see this is every category. So, social life, romantic life, what I did for myself to align with health and authenticity and honesty and love more in all these different ways. And so, let me see. Yeah, career and financial, major refinement in my business platforms and offerings, fully organized plans and solid goals. Um, Business values are crystal clear, podcast, stuff like that, you guys. So give yourself credit. This is the time to fully, like, and it jumped again, I'm sorry, but this is a chart I made, by the way, of it's called high level sovereign decision making, moving fear out of the way. And it's just a draft, but trying to do what's best for you and make decisions aligned with your vision and what you're trying to create while moving off to the side these fears and projections and just worries that aren't really valid in the grand scheme of things. So that's what this is. I'm going to go ahead and sharing and just talk for the rest of the time. Um, okay, uh I'm just seeing the live chat here. I don't know if y'all's are still on, but this April 24 date I keep seeing. Is this a rerun or live? No, I'm live right now. This is a live stream right now. And I just finished showing my reflection document that I do and how it's structured for every new solar cycle, and how, if it calls to you, you can make one for yourself too. So, as I was saying, I'm trying to think about, yeah, so this is the time to really, really feel into everything that you've done, because you've done so much. And even if it might not seem like it on the surface, that's why it's important to actually sit down and set some space aside to really give yourself a pat on the back for everything you worked through and thought through, not only physically, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually. This is the space to write all of that down. So that's what I've literally been doing all day long today. And it felt really good because there were some things I forgot about. So that's another thing. It's like, don't sell yourself short. This reflection allows you to feel that sense of accomplishment and love, and really giving yourself credit for a job well done. You did so well. Yes. So, okay, we're 28 minutes in. I'm going to take a look at my notes here. That is what goes into my reflection document. And for me, it's a really big deal. You know, some people, depending on when you celebrate the new year, that could look like journaling for you, that could look like family traditions. So, this is just my ritual. This is what I do. And it's really nice. And it helps me keep things in perspective and keep things organized, because ultimately all of my resources that I showed you just now and more is going to be put in a giant digital asset archive for my family in the future, so that my journey can be um, seen and kind of played through in chronological order for those on a spiritual journey in my legacy, my family line, if that is what interests them. I know that if I would have received something like that as a kid, I would have been happy as a clam. So, yeah, it's just keeping everything organized. It's kind of my life's work in a lot of ways. So, yes, really cool. Really just, yeah, philosophy and religion and the meaning of life. Like, honestly. So, let me see. How to get the new theme. So, yes, actually, after this live stream, you guys, I'm going to be sitting down and getting my new theme, which this morning, so last night and into this morning, I had two questions posed to me that I recognized belonged to a certain life category. But I'm not going to run away with it. I am going to sit down after this live stream and really kind of receive what this is. And once I can word the theme properly, it'll, and actually, you know what? I might show you, well, maybe I can just describe it. In my old document, I literally wrote down, it took a couple steps for me to get to the exact wording of the theme. But basically, in my meditation, I wrote down, prosperity and blank, prosperity and blah, da, 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 da. Like I had different phrases come through, and I was like, no, that's not quite right. I kind of had to write it down, like write down each phrase that kind of came through. And then I finally landed on prosperity and divine inheritance. And I literally heard in my intuitive senses like a ding, 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 like that's the one. So that's kind of what I do is I write down phrases until it feels like the exact wording of what my guides are trying to communicate to me. So once I have the theme, the action steps kind of trickle in, like they come in, they flow really quickly. And even in like the day or two after today, after the commencement of the new solar cycle, they just come to me in my day, in my routine, while I'm just going about my tasks and my activities. It just arrives. So I'm excited for this year's. This was a really good year. I'm so, so grateful. Many tears were shed just being grateful and being able to see how different relationships improved and how I lived more, how I lived in a way that was more caring about, like, more caring and more considerate of my own self, especially with such an extensive history of being a people pleaser. um, Being able to feel into that and feel a sense of love and progress and growth with my character, the way that I take care of myself and how I come into and interact with the world. So, more steps and action points relevant to the theme, they reveal themselves. Da, 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 da. If it's a project of sorts, if it's a big thing, it has a separate revelation files that I'll be linked at the end of. What is this note that I wrote down? Why is it worded so weird? I'm sorry, guys. I'm like, um, so if it's a big thing and it had a separate revelation, that'll be linked at the top of the, yeah. So I already kind of showed you that. So, this might be kind of a shorter one this time, you guys, but I mean, I have been talking for 33 minutes. It doesn't feel like it though. um, are there any questions? This is kind of a more, I guess, free-spirited reflection this time. I hope that however you celebrate the new year, it is supportive and fun, and it gives you a sense of joy and fulfillment and meaning. Um, how to keep track of this construct called time and just being able to recognize how we've grown and how far we've come because we have come so far. So, granting ourselves that acknowledgement, I think, is so powerful and beautiful. So, I'm just going to go ahead and look at the chat here for just a little bit, just in case you guys have questions. You can go ahead and ask me anything as well. Um, it doesn't have to be related to New Year stuff. Yeah, I'm really, really excited for what's to come. I am such a sentimental person. I I get all emotional about the new year because I just think to myself, "Oh, this was such a good year and I'm so grateful." And the waterworks again. It's like, I love what I did and I love the people I met and all of that, the trips that I took. That's another section of my document, actually, not just the life categories, career, social life, romantic life, physical health and fitness, mental health, spiritual health, those. I also have a section for creativity, what I kind of created and made and how I was artsy that year. And then also, what was I literally just saying? Trips and experiences. So if I went somewhere or I took a day trip or I went out with my friends to a cool event out of town or something, I write that down as well. So I can be like, oh yeah, like one of the things in my document for this past year was the fact that I took myself to Ren Fair, the local Ren Fair here. It's a really, really huge one. And I took my own self for my birthday because it was running during my birthday. So I was like, yay. So that was really, really special and really fun. And I also wrote down my day trips I took to further away cities and whether or not I was by myself or with a friend and kind of what I did and stuff. So you can do that as well to remember your trips. And yeah, I'm looking at the chat. There's nothing here. So, I feel like this day kind of flew by. I'm like nervous but excited and like kind of tired though to sense my new theme, but I'm not going to overthink it. It's just going to come through. So, oh my goodness, thank you guys so much for joining me. I again hope that however you celebrate the new year, or if today is just another day for you, that's okay too. Or maybe you really leaned into the Earth Day side of today. Maybe you went out and enjoyed the sunshine or did some community service, whatever that looks like for you. I hope it was a blast and know that everything you do makes a positive impact in that way. If you have the intention to help and to serve, know that it is well received and seen. And yeah. So, okay. I love taking every live stream and doing what I feel like talking about that day. I considered having a lineup or a queue, I guess, at the top of my channel because that's a thing. I can schedule my own lives. But I mean, I guess let me know what you think in the comments of this once it's posted as a permanent video on my channel, but or let me know now as well if you are here, but I just feel like right now, even though it's kind of cool and might build some anticipation and fun, seeing the lineup of like, oh, she's going to talk about this on this date and this on this date, da 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 da. I like to feel into what I'm most passionate about in the moment. I would hate to have a lineup and then have me not want to do it. And then I'm not as authentic or as enthusiastic for you when I come on the stream if that's not exactly what I want to talk about this day. Maybe it's what I thought I wanted to talk about a couple days ago, but that day was not today. You know what I mean? So that is why it is the way it is. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week yet, but that's kind of the fun of it. And who knows what's going to happen? I mean, stuff for me nowadays is happening constantly. If you're, deep into the work and on a path, you know what I'm talking about. So, yes. Thank you so much for watching and wishing you a beautiful rest of your day, week, wherever you might be at. And I will see you in the next one.